Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into your favorite Trainer Talk Tuesday here. Got a really good video coming up for you, some good information. And I want to preface this video by saying that this may be controversy for some folks out there, but just understand that our approach to this is more so based on long-term effects. So we want to talk about today, the diet mentality needs to die. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, and that's exactly what we're going to go ahead and answer for you.
Yep, guys, so if you are someone who is just like stuck in this constant rotation of jumping from one diet to the next, and you're not really getting the results that you're looking for, or you can't maintain those results long term, and you're just kind of left with feeling deprived, tired, and depleted, then listen up, because this is for you. This is exactly why Nate said that the diet mentality needs to die. And I'll also say that all our advice is going to stem from a place of healing. So we are always going to be focused on healing and then maintaining health with preventative measures. So this is what our advice is going to stem from. But we want to go ahead and just give a broad definition of what a diet actually is. And when you look it up in the dictionary, it says that a diet is a special course of food to which one restricts oneself either to lose weight or for medical reasons. And I want to kind of touch base on that word restricts, because that is a huge component of what we're going to talk about today. Diets typically do restrict people from eating certain things at certain time frames, and I want to give you guys 6 reasons why the diet mentality needs to permanently die off, and then towards the end we're going to give you things that you can focus on moving forward. So jumping right into it, diets in general, number 1, they fail because they do not consider hunger or fullness. They do not take into account your body's natural way of talking and its intuitiveness. So obviously you guys know what it feels like to be hungry. You know what it feels like to be satisfied or full. And diets don't typically care about that. They just care about how many calories are you getting in. They don't care if you feel hungry or not. You're done eating at a certain time frame typically. So if you find yourself asking questions or talking to yourself and saying things like, well, I can't eat that because it's after 7 p.m. Or I shouldn't eat again because I just ate an hour ago. Or I'm still hungry, but my calendar, time frame here is saying I can't eat for another 3 hours, so I'm going to wait. This is what we're talking about when it comes to diet. They don't care about that. It's very strict, and it doesn't take into account your personal hunger or fullness levels.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And that is kind of a really big thing for a lot of people that we see when they try to get on a specific diet regimen, is that they really struggle with the amount of food that they feel like they should be eating versus what the diet plan is telling them to follow. And they're mainly feeling that way because they're either not getting enough food for what their body is needing, because they could be working from a deficit, they could be a little bit more active than what that diet plan is detailing to them, and they're just not getting everything that the body needs, and your body is just calling for it, and that can go ahead and hinder your results and sort of cause other other challenges for you, possibly long term as well. So that's just one of the reasons. Number 2 is it fails to account for your cravings, which is something similar, right? Because if you're following a specific diet plan, and like I said, this isn't for everybody. Diets can work for some people, don't get me wrong, but we're talking to the general person, the everyday American, a person that's walking around, and all of these things are unfamiliar to them. So when they're having those cravings and they only can eat a certain amount, and they're going and they're putting their body in a possible starvation mode, that is something where now they're not exactly getting the best of what that diet plan entails, because it's not accounting for what their body is needing in the moment.
Now guys, and and we would prefer that you had, an abundance of fruits and vegetables in your diet, even if that meant at the beginning that you had, a mini chocolate bar, right? Because although we don't advocate for you to have a diet full of sugar, we know that the average American does. And most personalities cannot quit those things cold turkey. They are addictions, they are cravings, and they are very real. It's not in your head, they are actually there. Your body can become addicted to certain types of food, and if you're having an abundance of those foods, to really just cut them all off in a matter of a day or two is actually not good for the body. It can send your body into shock. It can cause a lot of detox reactions very quickly that are going to be incredibly unpleasant, and it's going to make you want to quit before you really even get started. And a lot of these programs don't account for that. They don't care about that. It's just like tough it out. And there is a better way, although we do believe that, you can eliminate cravings and you can start to crave healthier foods. That's something that you have to address at the beginning if you are eating a highly processed or sugar-filled diet.
You can go ahead and go to number
Yep.
3.
All right, so number 3, guys.
Elaborated very great on that. Nothing else for me to add.
Number 3, diets typically refuse to acknowledge changes in your life or your circumstances. So, for instance, emotional eating is real. It is a real thing. You guys know it. Social eating is a component. So, if you are going through a life-changing event, whether it's a good or a bad thing, your eating is going to be reflective of that. For instance, we are about to move out of state, guys. We are moving our family and our business to St. Petersburg, Florida. Because of that, we're not going to load up our fridge with a bunch of different foods because it's going to go bad, right? We're going to leave this weekend. And so we can't do that. So we have to plan accordingly for these things. Maybe you're in a situation similar like that where you're moving, or maybe you're incredibly stressed out with work or with college and schooling, and you just literally do not have the time to do certain things that maybe these diet plans call for you to do. Those are very real circumstances, guys. We understand that life happens. Maybe you're going through a death or a divorce or some type of loss, and that's the last thing on your mind is cooking, right? Or preparing healthy foods. These things are real, they happen, and diets do not take into account everyday life. Things that happen, good, bad, or ugly. These diets don't care about those things. They don't care about how you operate or when life unexpectedly happens, and then what do you do from there? So that's a huge one, guys. This diets typically expect for you to have a perfect routine and for there to be no flaws in it and for everything in your day to just go as planned. And we all know that's not reality.
Yeah, one of the major things that I do love about typical diets, and when we're speaking about typical diets, we're speaking of your 30, 60, 90-day programs that people traditionally follow when they are getting on some sort of diet plan. That's what most of them entail. But yeah, it always forgets the human factor, just the human nature, like everyday life, like we're speaking, circumstances taking over. But what I do appreciate about them is they do create a level of discipline that a person may have not had. And that is something that's important for all facets of life. So that is one of the really, really great things that I can never take away from following a diet plan. Because like we said, you can be restricted from having things that your body just may be craving to a high degree. And you have to ignore that to focus on just getting what the diet plan is telling you to get at the moment. And for some people, that can be a very, very challenging thing. And sometimes when your body is craving something so heavily, even if it is some sort of unhealthy food, that can be for a reason, right? And sometimes you need to go ahead and acquiesce to that and give your body those things. But at the same time, what we're going to ultimately push this to, and I don't want to get too far ahead because we're going to give you the good part of it as well, but just know all these things happen for a reason. And guys, don't feel down on yourself if you do slip up and you have something out of the realm of what you're trying to focus on having. The body is going to call for different things at different times, but that doesn't mean you ever have to overdo it in that area. But it's okay. We're all human and we're not going to be perfect. So moving on to number 4 here, personal food preferences are ignored. So that's a little bit of what I was looking at there, is where like you're craving certain things or you prefer to eat certain things, but now you only can have, you know, ground beef and chicken. Maybe you want to have fish. Maybe you want to have, you know, steak or something like that. But you only can have those things. And that can make that process of following that diet plan incredibly boring, very repetitive. And then the idea of eating healthy is now diluted because you think that this is the only path that there is to follow. And guys, trust me and believe, everyone we work with who've gotten great results, who've seen great life changes, just not here right now in the present, but they are able to develop habits that can help them as life goes on, as time continues to go through. So having things, and again, I don't want to knock it per se, but I just want to kind of reshape, and I think we just want to reshape the idea of what it means to eat healthy and how it can be something that's fun. And there are a lot of foods out there that you may prefer that you can't have if you do prepare it a certain way. Maybe you can't fry it like you used to, but now you can grill it. Maybe you can smoke it.
Air fry it.
Yep, maybe you can air fry it. That's a new hot thing right now. And I tried some air fry food with Larissa's sister, and I was incredibly impressed because I really couldn't tell the difference. But the greater thing is, I know that this wasn't cooked in something that was filled with a bunch of saturated and transsaturated fats, which is one of the main things every diet plan is going to kind of try to keep you from.
Now, guys, and also like personal food preferences when it comes to like cultural foods. So maybe you're someone who, like us, like we love Indian food, or maybe you love Italian food or Mexican food or whatever type of food that you like, right? You can still have these things. Now, they might look a little different. They might be prepared differently, but you can still enjoy your favorite foods in a healthier way. And a lot of these diets don't care about that. You know, I think that's why people get this misconception in their head that if I want to be healthy, then I have to eat salads all day long, every day.
And guys, don't say that you, and I know some of you do know, but that is such a huge thing that really bothers me.
We hear
is
it
that
all the time.
we having a discussion, and one of the responses to me is if I just comment on someone's food plate, and I comment to someone who is messaging me and DMing me about how to eat healthier, I give them tips. They never utilize them, but then they post and complain about being in that position with their body or their health. So then I try to say something to them, and they'll respond and say, well, I just can't eat salads all day or something like that. And I just like, man, it's such a poor understanding of what it actually means to eat healthy, guys. I mean, it's one of the, again, like I said, it's one of the most...
Salads could be one of the healthiest things you eat, or they could be incredibly unhealthy.
Very much so. And a lot of the salads that you guys are eating, if you're not making them yourself, sometimes if you are making them yourself, you're ruining the idea of what a salad is to be in the first place when you drown it with a lot of the dressings that are, again, have a lot of those high fat fats in them, like the transsaturated, the saturated fats themselves, like I mentioned earlier before. But when you drain it, and I used to tell people this at Subway when they would come and I worked there years ago, is that you're defeating the purpose of you coming here and eating this if every time you get to the end of the line, you're going to do extra mayo, sweet onion sauce, and whatever else we had, but you're coming here because you had the idea in your mind that you're eating healthy.
Yep, guys, and that's like probably one of the biggest things that we hear in our industry, that people think that they have to eat salads all day long. Nate and I do not eat salads all day long. Do we eat salads? Yes, when we feel like it. Typically in the winter we don't as much, I've noticed.
No, it's too cold.
It's too cold, right?
We still jumping to like vegetable soup.
Yep. So guys, you do not have to eat salads all day long if that's what you think. You can still have pizza. You can still have pastas. You can still have whatever food it is that you enjoy. Like I said, it just may look different or it may be prepared differently, but the flavor will still be there. Yeah. So keep that in mind, guys. You don't have to sacrifice your favorite things, and you don't have to be forced to eat things that you just don't naturally have a palate for. Now, if you're saying you don't like any vegetables or you don't like any fruit or you can't drink water, then that's a whole nother conversation. Your body does need a detox if you are in that state. But if you say, well, I love Brussels sprouts and broccoli and this and that, but I really don't like peas, don't eat peas. Even if that program tells you to eat a cup of peas every day, if you don't like them, you shouldn't have to subject yourself to something that you don't like. Why? Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to sustain it long term. It's really that simple, guys. And although we all should get to a point where our bodies crave healthy foods like fruits and vegetables and water, if you don't like certain things, it's okay. Everybody has a natural palate, and it's okay not to like a food item here and there. But to hate everything, that's another story. But be aware of that, guys. It does matter. Do not force yourself to eat foods that you've never liked in your whole life. So, but I also say that be open to trying them. Be open to trying them, because we have also seen this. Brussels sprouts in particular, I think, is like a main one where people they stick their nose up when they hear Brussels sprouts, and when Nate and I tell them, well, have you prepared them like this? And then they say, well, no, I haven't. And then when they do that, then they actually do like Brussels sprouts. They just didn't know how to prepare them. Or same thing with peas. Like
canned peas. I have
if you're associating peas with, the cafeteria peas that they gave you at school, then yeah, you probably don't like peas. But you might like snap peas. You might.
Or snow peas.
So, just be open to preparing things differently, giving it a try. You might surprise yourself, and even if you don't, then you don't have to eat it again.
I would say this too, last thing, is not a lot, it's just that you would be surprised how much you actually like a lot of these natural things that's grown right here, things that are going to only be beneficial for you and your organs and how everything functions over time, versus eating a ton of processed foods. Because one of the major things that everyone notices is that once they start to go to a more natural route, eat fresher more often, and when they go back and have some of those things, and this is why we're saying that you don't necessarily need to cut it out and go cold turkey, your body will do it naturally for you if you're getting an abundance of those things that it needs and that it depends on to be healthy and to make you healthy and strong and be disease free or at a low risk of disease, so on and so on. But you would be incredibly surprised that you think you like so much of these things now, like pizza rolls and all the other frozen foods that you get. You start eating some fresher stuff and start making some of those things from scratch yourself. I guarantee you at a certain point in time, sooner than later, consistently, you won't even like that stuff no more as much as you thought. You're like, that don't even taste as good as I thought it did.
Yep.
You'll find out. I'm telling you, the body is an amazing thing.
Yep, guys, and we're going to go on to number 5 here, which a lot of diet plans, they leave little to no wiggle room. They're incredibly restrictive, and they deprive you. There's deprivation there. And when we get into that mindset of, well, I can't make a mistake, and I can't eat this, and I can't do that, then you're not going to be able to maintain that long term. In fact, you might do damage to your metabolism where you put on more weight. And Nate kind of touched base on that with the starvation mode, where you're just not giving your body what it needs, not in calories and not in nutrients. Typically when people are on diets, they eat the same things every single day because they're like, well, I know I can eat this, so this is what I'm going to stick to. And there's some benefit to that, okay? Especially if you're counting macros and you're really trying to narrow down for maybe like a competition or something like that. But for the average person that's just wanting to lose fat, guys, that's probably going to do more harm than good, because you're not going to get the variety of different foods that are going to provide your body with what it needs. If you're only eating the same type of things every single day, even if those things are good, over time, eventually you're going to become deficient in areas, and that's going to cause issues long term. So keep that in mind. Diets don't usually allow allow you to enjoy other things or to step outside of the box that they put you in. And if you do, then you feel like a failure, right? We've all been there where, you eat something that's not according to your diet and you want to give up afterwards because you feel like a failure. This isn't what the diet said to do. I can't even make it past day one, right? You guys have been there. I know you have been there where you have felt like that, and so you just quit and you go to the next diet plan. And then you feel real confident and hopeful about that one, but day 3 comes and you give in to a craving, and then you're like, well, this didn't work for me either, and then you go to something else. And then it's that vicious cycle that we mentioned at the beginning where it's just this constant rotation of you jumping from one diet to the next. And what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results. That's exactly what's happening here. And it's not you guys. You're not a failure. The health industry is failing you because these plans are not set up for you to be successful long term. They're not. They're not designed for you to be successful long term. A lot of these are designed to make money, right? These are all marketing tools, and we'll go over some of the benefits of having some of these diet plans. For example, we have a detox program ourselves, but in general, guys, a lot of these things are just, it's quick turnovers. You're just another number, you're another dollar sign, and they don't care about your long-term health or what happens to you now and how that can affect you later. It's just, can I make this sell? So keep that in mind if you are going to do a program like that or work with a nutritionalist or dietitian. Make sure it's someone who really cares about you, your goals, your long-term health. Some of these bigger companies that you don't even get to talk to anybody, that they don't even know your story or your background, they don't care. They don't care. And that's why you're just in and you're out and they don't even notice. So guys, keep that in mind. If you're depriving yourself and you're restricting yourself so much, it's not going to last. It will not last long term. So don't feel like a failure when you stop because it was never designed for you to succeed.
Yeah, you said a lot there, and only thing I'm going to add is because you pretty much, I wanted to pick it up at one other point, but I do want to say this because we're going to get into more of it later, is that is my biggest issue with the whole idea of dieting at all, and that is the inspiration or the thought behind why we wanted to talk about this video is because it's about, you heard me say it earlier, the long-term effect. And when everything is so repetitive and you're only eating this certain way, once that certain way is over, you don't know what to do to maintain your health long term. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to elaborate on that more as we get into the more positive side of things, but that's the biggest issue with a lot of these diet plans. As great as they are in the heat of the moment, as greater results as you can get, once it's over, a lot of people are left asking themselves the question, what the hell do I do next? They don't know how to eat because they only ate broccoli for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a little asparagus here and there, brown rice, maybe a baked sweet potato, something of the sort. And there's an abundance of a lot of other things out there, like I mentioned, that you don't even know that you may even like them. You might love them more so than you ever think you would. And then a lot of those other things that are not going to be great for you because you don't want to go back to them after the 30, the 60, or the 90 days is up because that's why they told you to give them up for that time, right? Because they're not good for you and they're not going to get you that body or that health that you want to have overall. So once you're done with a little bit of short menu over that short time frame, what are you doing next? So that is why we don't really support the idea of just these short-term diets, and like Larissa kind of mentioned at the end, they're fast turnover, and that's why you see a new one every year, right? It's always something new, and I get that science is always evolving. There's always new methods, but trust me, everything that you need for the body been here for a very long time, and it's not going anywhere. It is going to continue to be here. So that is our idea behind it, and we're going to get into a little bit more here as the next one's come on. So moving on to number 6.
Yeah. Number 6, guys, our very last thing of why we believe the diet mentality needs to die is because diets ignore your just basic communication from the body. And I'm really big on this. I wholeheartedly believe that our body communicates to us long before disease or illness ever takes place. Our body will give us warning signs that something is wrong or that we need to make changes. These warning signs can vary. Everybody's different, but they're going to range from things like breakouts in the skin, whether that's acne or rashes, eczema. Okay, these are all ways that our body communicates to us to say, I don't like what you're doing right now, change it. Something that you're eating or that you're exposing me to is causing these breakouts. So your body does that as a reaction to give you a warning sign. Also things like your digestion, whether it's good or bad, that will be an indicator of what's going on the inside. If you are too frequent or you are having bowel movements too infrequently, so going too much or not enough, that is going to be a huge sign that you need to make changes. Also, sleep cycle. Can you sleep? Do you stay asleep? Do you wake up frequently?
Deep sleep, actually resting the body, shutting off your body's biological clock.
Yeah, when you wake up, do you feel rested or are you exhausted throughout the day no matter how much sleep you get? These are all signs. This is your body's way of communicating to you. And there's so many more, guys. We're not going to get all into that, but your body likes to talk to you and we just don't know how to listen to it. And a lot of these diets ignore the natural cues that our body give us. So, for example, we talked about this earlier on in the video about like hunger pains or cravings or feeling too full but then making ourselves eat more, right? Our body has its natural clock and it's intuitive for eating. And a lot of us don't follow that. If we learn to listen to our body and when it was hungry and know what that feels like to be satisfied but not overly stuffed or full to the point that you're lethargic, just being satisfied and content. Your body will speak to you. And a lot of these diets, like I said, it makes you get in a position where you ignore those things. Because again, it goes back to, well, this plans that I have to eat at this time. I can't eat before, I can't eat after, I have to eat this amount, even though I'm going to bed starving, or I'm so stuffed that I couldn't possibly take another bite, but I'm going to stuff it in there anyway, right? These diets don't call for that. They don't take into consideration the natural communication that your body gives, and it definitely doesn't teach you how to listen to your body and to know what those cues are.
Yeah, absolutely, God. What's the old saying? You are your best doctor. And what we mean by that is, like Larissa's saying, your body will start to communicate, start to show you these issues where you're breaking out or you're having other issues, and they start on a on a shorter scale. And before anyone ever goes to see a doctor for some issue they're suffering from, there's been a lot of warning signs up to that point that you may have just you just didn't have an idea what was going on. You didn't address it in a proper way. You didn't go to the root of the source. So that is why people end up in a position where by the time you really, really start to dissect these issues, it has advanced so far on because you've been ignoring, or those diets have been having your body or having you thinking that, this issue isn't so deep. But it's because you are, like we went back.
I should ignore.
Yeah, you should ignore. But like it goes back to like deprivation, as we spoke about recently, and you're just depriving your body of something that's essential, or that it may be craving, and you're not addressing it. You're ignoring those communication factors.
So I'm going to give you guys the perfect example. If you go back a few months, I don't remember the name of the title, but it was something along the lines of like me eating meat for the first time in years, right? When I talk about this scenario, my body was giving me signs that I should eat animal protein again. And I was a very strict vegan. Not only was I a strict vegan, I was what I would consider more plant-based. So I ate very healthy, a diet full of greens, full of vegetables, full of different nutrients, and I loved it, but it wasn't enough. After doing that for a period of time, it wasn't enough for my body.
Let me tell them how vegan you was, because I hope that your mom or your sister or somebody is seeing this. And if one of y'all are seeing this, one of Larissa's family members, please hit the comment section. Larissa was so vegan over the last few years prior to her body giving her those, cravings for one animal protein, that we actually, like at family barbecues, her family grilling up some great burgers. Her brother makes some of the best burgers. She would actually have him grill up pineapple and mango and watermelon. We would make she would make
nice little sauce. Hey, don't laugh at this.
So,
this is good. This stuff was good.
But it was creative too. But I'm like, when she say strict vegan, I mean like nothing, like literally plant-based to the max, and to the point where we was grilling up fruit and everything, just trying different things, a lot of portobello mushrooms, and just to substitute for not having animal protein at that time. But you can go ahead. I just had to tell them that you were eating grilled pineapple burgers.
Don't knock it,
like
guys.
real
it's
fruit.
So good. And then we put like a glaze on it, like a homemade. It was good. But I was having signs. One of the main ones was cravings. I started craving animal protein. And guys, when I say I have never in my life craved meat, I've never in my life done. I've always naturally kind of strayed away from it, even as a young child. Even before I knew what vegan was, it just isn't my go-to. It's not what my taste buds naturally want. And so when I say that I started craving it, I said this in the video when I first did it, it was painful. Nate always laughs at me when I say that, but it was painful to the point when I was making the kids eggs or something in the morning, and it never used to bother me before, but it was just it physically hurt to see them eat it and then not let me eat it. And I also had an injury in my wrist. He's laughing, but I know you guys have done this. Maybe not with animal protein, but you've done this with your diets. I had an injury that just would not heal. My wrist, I put it in an awkward position when I was lifting. My fault. I knew exactly what I did, but it just never healed fully. And so my body was giving me warning signs like this. And I could have been that person that said, you know what? I've been eating this way for a couple years. There's no way in hell that I'm going to take a bite of that. I'm not doing it. I could have ignored all those signs, and guess what? They would have gotten worse. Mm-hmm. And they would have kept getting worse, and then I would have gotten new symptoms, new signs. But I decided to say, no, I'm going to listen to my body because I respect my body and how it communicates to me, and I'm going to eat some of these things. I'm going to give my body what it needs because obviously I'm deficient in some area. And you guys can say I was deficient in protein because that's a common misconception when it comes to plant-based or vegan diets. You do not have to be deficient in protein when you're eating that way. In fact, I know that I wasn't because I was actually testing out a program. And so I was counting all my macros and I was getting enough protein in. I 100% know that for a fact. So it just was that my body needed something in animal protein that I was not getting otherwise. And when I did eat animal protein for the first time, my wrist healed within a matter of days and my cravings went away, completely went away. And I've been able to maintain a plant-based diet since. So I still do eat animal protein, but I still incorporate a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole foods. And there's more of a balance there instead of being so restrictive to the point that my body felt deprived, like what we were talking about before. And, in general, this has nothing to do with health, but it makes, hanging out with your family and enjoying life a lot easier. Because as Nate mentioned, we had to really go out of the way, Nate particularly, if he's picking up food or doing something, going to all these different places and make sure that I can eat within the, parameters that I had set for myself. Or, if we go to family gatherings, everybody's eating something and I'm just they're, not really able to socialize and enjoy that moment with my family because I can't have anything that they're eating at all. So it does have a positive aspect from that, even though that has nothing to do with your health. From the, inside, it does have a lot to do with your mental health, and I think that matters long term as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we go ahead and let's talk about some of those benefits.
Yeah, guys, so the benefits of a diet, or just like moving on from what they should do long term?
No, yeah, let's get into, that long term effect like we talked about. Like, again, like I said at one point, like that, the biggest issue I have with the diets themselves, and I think we kind of gave off some benefits of a diet. Like I said, one of the hugest ones is giving you a level of discipline, which something that not most people, but a lot of people don't have, I would say. I think a lot of people struggle with that, who are struggling with their health, is because a lack of discipline in that area in their lifestyle. And sometimes that's a carryover effect as well. So being able to be very disciplined, especially to the T, that some of those diets are, requiring you to do, and you are going through all those other things like your cravings and so on, and you're ignoring it, and you're like, no, I'm only doing this, and you do succeed. You get past day 3, week 1, you make it all the way to day 30, day 60, hell, day 90. Hell, that is a new way of being able to approach life now, to be able to know what it means to be disciplined, being successful in that manner. That is a long-term benefit of it. So we kind of mentioned that, but for the most part,
I would also say I would add in discipline, but then also education. A lot of diets, we're not here to just like completely rag on them. Like we mentioned, we have a detox program ourselves. We're going to release a program for fat loss and for muscle building, because there are some benefits to these things, especially if they're done the correct way. But I think education is a huge benefit of a lot of diets, is that it kind of forces you to learn about different foods that you're probably not eating. And like, maybe cooking from home and what that looks like. There could be some education there, because most diets are going to encourage you to eat at home and to prepare your own food. And so there's a huge benefit to like what that looks like. We're just talking about the long term. And it's not to say that, what you're eating on the diet is wrong and we're against it, because most of them are going to do exactly what we're telling you now, which is to embrace whole foods, eat an abundance of fruits and vegetables, and drink plenty of water. In basic terms, this is what you should be doing, and a lot of these diets promote it. They just do on such a larger scale that it's not typically something you can maintain for the rest of your life. So that's kind of more what we're saying. We do want you guys to focus on these types of foods, and to have a balance with them, and to really, don't focus on, 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, but really like lifestyle changes. What can you do and maintain long term? And for you, where you currently are at mentally or physically or emotionally, that might look different than where you might be, 3 or 4 years down the road. And Nate and I have always been honest with you guys when we say that, several years ago, 8 years ago when we were together, our diet looks drastically different now than it did then. And back then, we really thought that we knew what we were doing, and at that moment, we gave you guys the best advice that we could with what we knew then. But people are meant to grow. We're meant to embrace change and to evolve, right? And so when time has passed, we've learned more. We've experimented with our bodies. We have been open to taking in new information, and because of that, we don't believe the same things now that we used to believe then. We don't eat the same type of food that we used to eat now and from then, right? Like that has changed, and I believe it has changed for the better. And so you might find yourself in a position like that. Well, maybe I can only commit to this right now. Maybe I can only commit to just drinking enough water for the day, but I don't know about anything else. That's fine, guys. You can focus on one healthy habit at a time. And if you follow our social media at all, on Facebook or on Instagram at Never Settle Fit, every Wednesday, we call it Wellness Wednesday, we give you one healthy, attainable habit that you can start incorporating into your life. And over time, these little changes have big impacts. And so never underestimate the little changes. because those little changes eventually become the norm. And then you focus on another little change. And then over time, that becomes like a completely new, healthier lifestyle that you have been able to do with your own time frame and your own, comfortability. So it doesn't have to all be smashed and crammed into this tiny, challenge period when you have the rest of your life to better yourself. And you do. You have the rest of your life to get better at this. So as long as you're making progress and you're taking steps in the right direction, then that's really all we can ask of you.
Yep, like she just said there at the end, though, everything being crammed into that small time frame. Even 90 days is a small time frame when we're speaking of 365 days a year, 366 in a leap year. But year after year, day after day, how should you be eating? What are the foods that should be the main staple of your diet? Where do you get your nutrients from? Those kind of things. Again, you may have just been introduced to broccoli or to asparagus, maybe some French green beans in your diet. And those are the only veggies now that you feel comfortable eating because those are the only ones you know. But now it gets boring and you just don't have a real idea of all the things that's out there that is, there for you. It's just waiting on you. All those healthy foods, and some even have more of those healthier nutrients in there. They're packed with even more of them, and you're not getting those at the same time. But then again, like I was mentioning about, it just not seeming like it's something that's fun to do, like it's a boring experience. And for me personally, getting into fitness and focusing on health, I mentioned this a few times throughout my career, is that, my family tree is one of the inspirations behind me wanting to try to do some things differently as far as how am I preparing foods, how am I eating, and so on, because of watching what happened to a lot of my grandparents and how soon it happened. And now the older I'm getting, more I feel like, man, that wasn't even very old, so I want to be able to be around a lot longer. I want to be able to feel better. I know 50-year-olds today, we talk about this all the time, who are like people who are around 50, 60, who are same age, but are drastically different in how they're living their lives today. Meaning that one is so deteriorated, their body's breaking down, their sight is starting to get poor, they can't stand up straight, they have no, good cardiovascular system, they tire real fast. And then you got other ones who are living a very, fulfillful life. They're out, they're still doing water sports and traveling, and maybe rafting, doing all kinds of stuff.
A handful of clients in their 70s now who are in way better shape than some of you guys in your 20s and 30s, and that is no exaggeration. I don't mean to say that to scare you or to be funny. It just goes to show that your choices every day matter, because those choices build up over time, and then you have to deal with the ramifications of what that looks like, good or bad. And so we have clients who are older that have made consistently healthy choices. It doesn't mean they were perfect.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that they didn't enjoy life. It means that in general, they had a balance in their life where they got an abundance, not deprivation. They weren't depriving themselves. They had an abundance of foods that provided them with the nutrients that they needed to be in the position that they are now in their 70s, moving well, flexible, enjoying life, hell, kayaking. One of Nate's clients kayaking at that age, not just kayaking, but water rafting, right?
Yeah, he's doing class 5 rivers, which are the top.
So
and he's leading groups of 6 to 8 people.
Guys, your body will respect you if you respect it. And if you don't, it's going to start to deteriorate, and it's going to do it quickly, and you're not going to feel well. You are not going to be healthy. And so this is why it's so important, because although we say you have the rest of your life to make these changes, you still have to take steps every single day to get better. Every single day, no matter how small those things may seem. I know a lot of people get in their mind if I can't do it all, then I'm not going to do anything at all. And that's such a bad place to be in, guys, because one healthy decision every day matters. It makes a difference over time if you do it consistently. And we can say that, and we can 100% prove that when we look at our clients and how they're able to live their lives and operate because of decisions that they made earlier on. So no matter your age, guys, it's never too young or too old for you to be able to make these changes. You can start doing that today. And if you don't know where to begin, if you like listen to this video and you're like, okay, yes, I get it. Like I've been there with the diet, but like I don't know what you talk about when you say whole foods, or I don't know how to get started. I don't know what that healthy habit looks like for me. Then please, guys, reach out to us. We would love to help you, and we would love to cater a program to you, whether that's one-on-one with our nutritional consulting, or if you're doing our virtual training club, we're going to be adding nutritional programs in there. The difference with those programs are we're going to help you maintain what that looks like for you long term. You're going to have access to Nate and to myself and our knowledge, so we will be there available for you the whole way. Whenever you need us, we'll check in with you weekly. But guys, there's going to be accountability there, and that's a huge difference from these other diet plans, right, that we talked about. You're going to be able to talk to a real person, and so we can then be there to provide real results for you, because we can make changes according to you and where you're at and what your body needs. And that's the biggest difference.
Yep, guys, and I'll sum this up with one saying that I always give clients, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I was going to hit home, is that is a big determining factor, something we notice in clients who or people we know who are around the same age, but just bodies are in two different positions. It's like those ones who are in a much better position, they did have a lot of healthy and good decisions that was made as far as what they were putting in their body over time. So again, that's just the proof in the pudding. But one thing I like to say is that, guys, we want to look good today, but still feel great tomorrow. So we're always thinking about that long-term effect. So what you put in is going to determine what you get out. So guys, we just want you to gain a whole complete level of understanding of what it means to do these things on the regular basis, not just for a 30-day period, a 60-day period, a 90-day period, or anything of that sort. Like, you can eat healthy every day of your life and enjoy yourself, even at those times where you go to a family function or you hang out with your friends, and you can enjoy yourself, because in abundance, you're getting all the proper things you're supposed to be getting. You can always enjoy yourself. You just got a healthy overall balance of life, and now you're just doing a favor for the next generation to come, guys. And that's what a lot of my motivation and inspiration was, just wanting to do things differently and break the cycle like my father always taught to me. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect by any means of the matter, but I have been educating myself and pushing myself to do something differently than what my family has always done, just so we can try to better it as life goes on. So guys, we're always thinking and always considering tomorrow, and we just don't want it for you for the short-term effect. We want you to be able to maintain this and make this your lifestyle forever. Teach it to your children, have them teach it to their children, to their friends, to your friends, everyone. You know, reach one, you teach one.
Yep, guys, and I know a lot of people have heard and talk about and are striving for like generational wealth, and I think that's a beautiful thing, but we're encouraging you to have generational health. So that's really what it's all about. Like Nate said, passing it on to your children, and then they get even better, and they learn and they grow, and they pass that on to their children. And then after 3 generations, you now have a healthy bloodline. It takes 3 generations, guys. So you can be the difference today. You can build a better future for your kids tomorrow, and that's what we're encouraging. And again, guys, if you don't know how to do that, reach out to us. We will extend a complimentary consultation for you. And if you're not wanting anything one-on-one, whether that's just because of your personal preference, or maybe you don't have the budget to fit that right now, then you can take advantage of our virtual training club. As I mentioned, here very soon this spring, we're going to start adding some nutritional content to that program, and you can check out our 7-day free trial today. So you can have a full week of what that would look like and how how you can kind of get going on that journey. So I'll add that into the comments or into the description, and you guys can take advantage of that today.
All right, guys, the kids are coming. I think we ran our mouth enough. But again, if you got any questions, like Larissa said, don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to talk to you and serve you to the best of our ability. Again, reach one, you teach one, guys.
Yep, guys, and join us every week for your weekly dose of Trainer Talk Tuesday, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on our Facebook page, Never Settle Fitness. And as always, never give up.
Never lose hope. And
never settle. We'll see you guys here next week.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. And remember, make healthy decisions.